Hello, my name is Justin Correa, and this is my blog number 12, IOC. I am focusing on practice passage number 3, which is the excerpt that was from Macbeth, which is Act 1, the ending of Act 1, Scene 3, where Ross and Angus visit Banquo and Macbeth to deliver Macbeth the news that he is becoming the Thane of Cawdor. Just some background information real quick. This excerpt being focused on today is a small excerpt from the play Macbeth, and Macbeth was first performed and assumed written in 1606 by William Shakespeare. This passage being focused on will be the lines 93 through 139 of Act 1, Scene 3, but on the paper here, or the passage on the Google Doc that you sent me, it's numbered 1 to about 39, I believe, so we're just going to use those numbers when focusing on the lines. And also, just a little summary of the passage that was sent. This is after King Duncan received the news of Macbeth's successes in battle, and he decided to grant him the role of becoming Thane of Cawdor. This was Ross and Angus, who were two of the 5 Thanes of Scotland who came to deliver the news to him. However, this is somewhat, you could say, ironic, because just previously and during the same scene in Act 1, Scene 3, in the beginning of Act 1, Scene 3, in fact, they met with the 3 witches who delivered them the future information that Banquo's children would become kings, that Macbeth would later become king, that Macbeth would become Thane of Cawdor, and all of that news. You can see Banquo's reaction to it in line 13 when he says, "What? Can the devil speak true?" Banquo, from the jump, seemed very suspicious about the whole situation. However, Macbeth was very curious and excited about it, practically ignoring the fact that 3 crazy, bearded women came and told him that he would later become king, and now he would later become Thane of Cawdor, and now you see it coming true. You could see this when, Macbeth asked for some clarification, saying, the Thane of Cawdor is still alive, why me? And Angus replies about how the Thane of Cawdor had treason, and he's being overthrown, and he's being, executed, so it'd be perfect for Macbeth. After hearing that, Macbeth seems very happy. He tries to comfort Banquo, saying, "Do you not hope your children shall be kings?" Promising him that this is good, nothing bad's coming from this. But Banquo is very still suspicious about the whole situation, stating that, a lot of evil might say, half-truths in order to, they'll give you something good, but in the end, it will not turn out good. And, knowing what happens in the end of Macbeth, we can see that Banquo was true in this situation. This is the little passage of the excerpt, but we're going to be focusing on 2 questions today. Those questions are going to be, to what extent is the excerpt above connected to the ambition of various characters, as well as how does the structure of the text help you understand the meaning of the intended audience? Well, starting off, I'm only going to focus on Banquo and Macbeth. I don't think Ross and Angus, as they don't have too big of a role down the line of Macbeth in the novel. I'm only going to focus on Banquo and Macbeth for the first question. So just to reiterate, the first question is, to what extent is the excerpt above connected to the ambition of various characters? Well, after summarizing and reviewing this excerpt, I believe it connects mostly to the ambition of Macbeth as opposed to Banquo. Macbeth receiving the Thane of Cawdor, and with already the idea that he has a strong chance of becoming king, he wants more. He wants more power. Him being told this, and him already searching for ways, thinking of ways to eventually become the king, I believe this connects strongly to his ambition of wanting more power and to control. However, on the other hand, I do not think it, to a very small extent per se, does it connect to Banquo. Banquo overall is very suspicious about this. he would very much like for his children to become king. However, he believes is that they are dark, they're evil, the witches that are like giving them this prophecy. He says they're telling him the truth to some extent, but it's not going to come out the way that they would hope it would. It's not going to end in a fashion that they would want it to. That is why I believe it does not necessarily connect to the ambition of Banquo as it does connect to the ambition of Macbeth. Because you can see further down the line that Banquo does not end up getting at all what he wants or his end of the bargain, whereas Macbeth gets honestly more than his end of the bargain, more than what he wants, and does turn evil in order to do so. I believe Banquo was right about the evil, and Macbeth overlooked it, was just power hungry, and he took advantage of the situation. However, when looking at the structure of the text, it does help a lot to understand the meaning and the intended audience. Furthermore on that, let's see, when you can see how, well, obviously, it's structured as if it was a play, so it allows for the dialogue and the characters' inner thoughts to be presented, or at least what they want to be presented, and we can see that in a structural order. Starting off, we can see that Ross and Angus, they came to Banquo and Macbeth to deliver the information, and we can see their reactions and any questions they had, and then Angus settling with answering the questions and allowing them to know that it's all true and it all came out. Then that allowed for Macbeth and Banquo's ending reactions during the excerpt, where we could see Macbeth's understanding of the situation and excitement that it's all coming true and that he would possibly become the king, whereas Banquo was very suspicious of the situation with the witches that previously spoke with them, telling them that they would become, or Macbeth would become king and Banquo's children would become kings. He was not very fond of that idea, and he believes that there's some evil underlying aspect of it. And when looking at the author's purpose, well, you could say the intended audience, but to find that you would need the author's purpose. And the author's purpose of including this right here was as sort of like something coming up to the rising action. Many people during this era, around like the King James I era, did not believe in witchcraft, and the fact that the witches had, in fact, told them this prophecy or their fate of becoming kings, and Thane of Cawdor and Macbeth and Banquo seeing this happen in front of their own eyes, allowed for the author to include this, like, rising action, have people understand that essentially this supernatural phenomenon that is occurring is true, and that for the intended audience, that creates a rising action, which will furthermore, deepen the story and deepen, this, quest for Banquo and Macbeth and how they're going to become, how Macbeth will become king and Banquo's children will become king. So, overall, I believe that this excerpt from the story was crucial to the development of the story, as obviously Macbeth and Banquo had to find out this information that they would become, or that Macbeth would need to find out the information that would become king. But the irony of it that it happened right after them being told by the witches their fate for the future, just adds on to the plot of the story, and I believe that this shows the ambition, or kind of foreshadows the ambitions that both Macbeth and Banquo are going to have. Banquo will be content with what's happening. He will be suspicious, but as long as everything goes good, he would be content with it. Macbeth, on the other hand, turns evil and uses evil power to get his way in the future, and we can see that highlighted here. And the structure allows for the meaning of the author's purpose of us understanding what Banquo and Macbeth's future intentions will be, or it makes them clear. And then the intended audience for the people during the King James I era to understand that the furthering of the story.